What's going on, guys? It's your boy Anthony, back with another edition of the Fourth Man, coming to you solo on this episode. And we got a good one for you, kind of filling you in on a couple of things that have happened with some recent Big 3 players. Unfortunately, both good and bad as of today on Thursday, October 7th. Got a little bit of news that was pretty shocking on a few players, but also just want to state a couple of things that have happened to some of our players in a positive manner. So going to get into that. And then on the back end of this, we are going to talk to Power's Darnell Jackson. So pretty excited about that. Hear his journey from being a champion and NCAA in the NCAA realm with Kansas, all the way to, this past summer playing with Power in his rookie year of the Big 3. So super stoked for that. But let's just jump into, some of the topics that have happened since the summer has ended. Let's start with the shortest news. It's going to be interesting for one team this summer in Taiwan, the Taichung Suns, who I think like a month ago signed Alonzo G, who played for BIG3 sparingly in the games that he was able to play. They kind of had a whirlwind of players come in and out, but Alonzo G signed with them. And then recently, as of today, found out that Dante Green also signed with them. So they're going to have a member of Power and a member of Killer Threes team up and play in Taiwan, which is going to be a scary team, adding those two bucket getters. We saw the type of year, obviously, Dante had to try to lead Killer Threes back to the playoffs after a slow start. And then Alonzo G, they kind of had a weird start. I don't want to say it was necessarily slow, but Bivouac, I felt like what we thought was going to be a team that really meshed well together didn't necessarily mesh well skill set wise. And then once they had some more moving parts and some injuries occurred to their captains, saw Alonzo G take more of the scoring responsibility and looked really good in the process of doing that. So best of luck to those guys. Safe travels to those guys in Taiwan. That's going to be a scary team, and good luck to anybody who's going to have to go against that team. I'm sure they have a bunch of other talented guys on that team as well. Also want to highlight Isaiah Austin, who about a couple weeks ago just announced that, I think it was on Sham's podcast, that he's actually retiring from pro basketball, and he just got a front office role with the NBA in a fellowship position that he just recently started and mentioned on his Instagram. In that interview, he did mention that the doctor gave him 5 years after he was cleared to play following his diagnosis of Marfan syndrome. And hey, it was year 5. I think he played in Central America right after the Big 3 season ended. And, I think he was okay with the idea of playing for 5 years and then calling it quits, moving on to the next part of his journey. So, overall, just what a story of adversity and perseverance for a guy who was going to be a lottery pick and then looked like he was never going to play again. And then to come back after being cleared, hearing all that, medically banned from the NBA, and just getting a chance to play overseas, travel the world, play in the Big 3, being the #1 overall pick. Really dope experience to compensate for what almost was the end of basketball earlier than he expected. And I think that's really cool that Isaiah Austin gets to continue life, off the court, still around the basketball realm, which seems like he's very passionate about. He's willing to work from the bottom to get to a prominent NBA front office role, and that's going to be really cool. So best of luck to him. Congrats on a really great career, not only at the professional rank, but from a college standpoint. Wish we could have saw more games of you in the Big 3 playing with enemies. I felt like that was cut a little bit shorter than a lot of people hoped for, but what a season individually for you, just to kind of show the world on another platform that this type of game you have, this is how dangerous you are as a 7-footer with handles, with shot creating abilities, can shoot from the outside, and just really dope to see you, actually playing the Big 3. And as the league continues to grow, we'll always remember, your 1 year playing in the Big 3, your rookie year in the Big 3. So congrats to you, Isaiah. Best of luck to you moving forward. Before we get into Darnell's interview, last bit of news here that came out today, actually that 18 former NBA players were arrested and charged for defrauding the NBA's health and welfare benefit plan. Some of those players included guys that have played in the Big Three, both presently and in the past. Big Baby, Will Bynum, Jamario Moon, Allen Anderson, Shannon Brown, Tony Roten, Ruben Patterson were the 7 guys listed on the 18 total former NBA players. There was actually 19 people, I believe, but 18 of them were former NBA players. I don't know the full details. I don't look into this too deeply, but I do know that from what I've read, they submitted false and fraudulent claims to get medical and dental expenses reimbursed. There was one video of someone talking at a press conference and said that some of the guys actually said that they had a root canal on the same teeth, like multiple teeth, on the same day for the same price or something like that. Everything just aligned a little too well. It's kind of like cheating on a test. Like you don't want to copy answer for answer, or it just looks a little too obvious when you're sitting right next to that person in class, and it looks like it's what happened. Look, I don't know. We only know one side of the story, right? I think if we've learned anything by 2021, that the narrative that the media has can be strong and can also be overdrawn out. It's only one side of the story, and I think sometimes that we kind of jump into things and make our own speculations based on what the news says. But I think it's important too to hear the other side of the player stories. They haven't been actually found guilty, so I don't want to necessarily accuse these guys of any wrongdoing right off the bat. I think that's something I try to be open-minded about, is that, hey, there's two sides to the story. But the reason I do bring it up, outside of there being a little bit of Big 3 relevance there, is that I've read a lot of Instagram posts where people in the comments, multiple people in the comments will say a lot of those guys are Big 3 players, or half of them played in the Big 3. Ice Cube can get your boys. And I'm just here to remind you that, that happened during their NBA career one. So it's funny that you're trying to, some of these guys are trying to specify that, oh, it's, half of them are Big 3 guys. Well, they're all NBA guys. And apparently that's just being overlooked by some people for whatever reason. Two, I think the thing that bothers me, being a Big 3 advocate about it, and maybe I'm just being sensitive to it or naive or whatever, but tying the Big 3 name alongside these players, and ultimately, I feel like some people phrase it or are perceiving it as like it's bad luck for the Big 3 because they're adding all these, guys with bad morals to the league. And again, this happened during their NBA careers. I don't think this has anything to do with the Big 3. Obviously, probably the Big 3 guys or Big 3 personnel and higher authority didn't even know about what any of this is going on. I think that we need to, for people who are looking at it as like half of them are Big 3 players, I think we need to separate the two entities of Big 3 of the league and the player, whose morals and values kind of, weren't great at this time. Honestly, it's lying, it's fraudulent, obviously against the law. And I think we need to separate those two entities and not look at it like, oh, the Big 3 signing these guys that are not high characteristic guys. I don't know, shady guys. I don't really know how to necessarily characterize them, or what I would say, but I think we need to kind of separate these two entities, because again, they should have no impact on how you look at the league. I think the league has been a great platform for a lot of players, coaches, personnel, giving a lot of people opportunity to relive the glory days, or just another opportunity potentially make their mark on a professional standpoint, whether it's NBA, overseas, stay in shape for those leagues, or whatever the case may be. So it's not really like maybe I'm just taking this a little bit more personally, again, because I'm so passionate about the league. I mean, obviously one of the few to do a podcast, if not the only to do a podcast. So I look at the league, at least a lot of the players in the league, within high regard. And I think it's just one of those things where some of these guys were they made the wrong choice at the wrong time. And again, we don't know the other side of the story. And came back to bite him in the ass a little bit. So, you know, I'm just here to remind people that, like, don't necessarily need to tie those two things together as like, oh, they're big three players. You know, this happened when they were in the NBA. The big three did nothing but give them an opportunity to play again at a high level on a big platform. And I don't think this should have any standing, or you should perceive the big three in wrong light just because of what these guys did on their own personal standpoints. So that's all I wanted to mention about that, really. We'll see what happens within the coming days, weeks, months with those players. Don't really know much more than the high level overview of what people have been saying across social media and across news outlets. So I'll update you guys if I hear anything else that pertains to, maybe those 7-8 individuals. But that's really going to do. That's really the updates that we've had. I know that we've kind of gone to a more month-to-month basis from a podcast standpoint, and really doing that just because we have a long off season, like I mentioned before, but also too, I thought something fun to do rather than just update you guys with 15 minutes of news and then just going through a long list of all the guys that have played or are playing, as of this past summer. I thought it'd be fun to, talk to some of these guys that we don't necessarily get to talk to and that's exactly what we're doing on today's episode. So appreciate everyone who's tuning in. All right, guys. So it is now October 20th. I made the beginning of this video a little while ago and originally thought I was going to have a different guest on. Ultimately, that didn't work out. People's schedules get busy, but do have a guest on this week. And now here's our interview with co-captain of Ghost Ballers, Chris Johnson. All right, guys, it's been a minute since we've recorded an episode. We have a long Big Three off season, so trying to scatter these out throughout the off season, but we're excited to be back today. And today we welcome on NBA vet, former number 2 overall pick in the 2019 Big Three draft, and co-captain of Ghost Ballers, Chris Johnson. Appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know I've been pretty persistent in asking you to come on, but I know you're a busy man. You got a lot going on and off the court. So glad we could find a time, and appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course. So just wrapped up your second season in the Big Three, first year as a co-captain. Really just want to start here. What do you do during the long off season? I know a lot of guys play overseas or trying to get other, opportunities playing back in the NBA or the G League or whatever the case may be. So kind of what's been going on in the early stages of the Big Three off season?
I have a little bit of rest time after the season, but I'm still active. So, pretty much just play that waiting game, and it's a bit stressful. Just trying to figure out the stability or where you're going to go. And, it's stressful on the family a little bit and things like that. But other than that, I'm still active and ready to go, to be honest. And just play however long the season is, or if I go to one season and then go to another one, just depends.
Yeah, I think I saw a few guys saying that it was a little bit harder to get a job overseas this year. I don't know if that's due to just some of the things going on in the world or just a lot of good players out there. Do you feel like that's the case right now?
Actually, there's a lot of things. It's COVID. It's money is just dry.
Yeah,
a little bit. And also it's a lot of guys who don't really know or understand their worth, and they're just going over there for whatever amount. It's kind of, it kind of hurts the market. Like just normal life stuff. Like it's just,
right.
Trying to figure it out.
For sure. I'm sure that's a lot of like the young guys, playing professionally for the first time. They're just like, oh, a job? Yeah, let's get it. And then they're like, I don't know how much you guys make over there, but I can only imagine they're lowballing them. Like,
yeah, and also understand like you have to start from somewhere as well. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So
true.
That plays a part.
Well, you just wrapped up a pretty good campaign yourself, but I always want to start here because I like to find out how guys find out about the league. I know there's a lot of ties before you guys actually joined the Big Three. You joined in year 3 back in 2019, went to the combine, had an excellent combine, but how did you find out about the league initially?
Actually, just watching it. I just stumbled across it the first season when AI and Jay Will, like two of my favorite players to watch when they were active, and like it was just fun. Like they were just talking trash. And, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just it was just like when you grew up playing. It just looked fun. And then I saw like it was former NBA players, and then it started opening up to certain ages, and if you're still active, you can still play and all that thing. And the opportunity just presented itself, and everybody started doing the splash alerts, and with Gil and all these things, and I just threw my hat in there. And at that time, I was in Dubai playing, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make it to the combine. And some lucky way it all happened, like the season ended like a day earlier, and I got to the combine like fresh off of the plane from Dubai. So like the night before, so I had like maybe 8 hours to prepare for it. I just kind of like just did my thing, and it happened to be the second pick.
It's pretty wild you say that because, before COVID and everything, there were some changes, or, going into the season, there were some changes with the BIG3 organization as a whole, kind of with the year off. But I remember talking to one of the guys that used to work there for the BIG3, and we were trying to get some insight. We're like, who's doing really well at the combine and whatnot. And they're like, man, Chris Johnson's really balling. He looks like the best player out there right now. And so it's pretty crazy to hear that. I mean, you essentially had 8 hours to get ready for this thing. You went out there and just did your thing, but you're probably also in like game shape too, coming straight off a season. Yeah.
And it didn't hurt to have Steve Blake as my point guard. So he was definitely dishing it and making things look way easier. So
that's right.
So shout out to Blake for that one. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. I'm still pretty shocked he never ended up getting drafted, especially with the rosters being with 6 people. So that's pretty crazy to hear about. Yeah, so you go number 2 overall. You go to 2. You're the first ever pick of Triplets, which is pretty crazy to think about now. They're kind of a household staple and everything. You got to play with Triplets kind of sparingly a little bit. And early on, I felt like, it's the Joe Johnson show. He's a 2-time MVP. We understand what he brings to the table, and you're doing your part contributing. But what was it like playing with Triplets, playing alongside Joe Johnson, and just being coached by Lisa Leslie there?
Man, Lisa's preparation, to my understanding, her and Nancy, like they're second to none with preparation. So like with Lisa, it was mind-boggling, but it was refreshing at the same time, because we had, she had scouting reports on teams. So like we had 30 minutes to get so much within that 30 minutes of practice, and we got it done. And like it showed, and it doesn't hurt to have Joe. You know what I'm saying? Like it's over preparation, which helps. And then you have a scoring machine like Joe. Like that's kind of hard to beat. And also with playing with Joe, it was just cool, like to be able to just see how he picks his spots, and he's perfect at that. Like he knows the shot in the clock. He knows where he can get his shot off. He can get his shot off anywhere. He can get in the post. He's crazy strong. You know what I mean? Like it was just fascinating to watch, and like just understanding. And this is what I feel like kids need to understand. Like everybody has a role. Like everybody's not going to be the main guy. So like you have to understand what your role is and be the best person on that team in your role. And like that's how it works. So like there'll be times where I didn't play as much, and Lisa would contact me like, hey, like just hang in there. I'm like, Lisa, we're undefeated right now. Like you know what I'm saying? We're undefeated. Yeah. I'm cool. You don't have to keep calling me. I'm absolutely fine. And like when I'm gonna be like, hey Joe, pass me the ball. Like, no,
he'll find you. Know what I'm
saying? Like no, Joe, you go to work. I'll figure out whatever. Like I don't need the ball like that. Like I can maneuver around and help in different areas. But like it actually was a great experience.
Man, that's cool. Yeah, because he's also been in the league forever. So just to be able to learn, I'm sure, and pick his brain is super dope. And I gotta ask this because I think I remember seeing that Gennaro. So Gennaro, I don't know if you know, Gennaro Pargo was a part of the trilogy team that won it all the first year. I think he was part of it like very sparingly, but I think I remember seeing like he didn't end up getting a ring. So I got to ask, did you end up getting a ring playing with triplets? Because you helped them to like a 3-0, 4-0 start, or 4-1 start.
Yeah, no, I didn't get
Man, I think that's something like, I know we're in the early stages of the league, but like I think that's something we need to look into and maybe retroactively bring up some of these rings, because I feel like that's you help your team get to a certain point, and then obviously we'll talk about the trade in a second. But I feel like that is a little undervalued. I think you see it in other leagues where guys get traded and they still get they're still given their props for what they brought in the early part and helped them get to where they are. So maybe that's something that they talk about in the future.
Yeah,
it is what it is. But
yeah, it is what it is. At the end of the day, man, it's just being happy, man. Sure. Like I'm blessed to be able to play this game still and play at a high level. So, I mean,
I feel that, and also, so you're traded to Ghost Ballers midway through the season, which is kind of an interesting thing in the Big Three, because it's not like you really go to like a different city and you still see your teammates or your ex-teammates like the next week or whatever. But you're traded to Ghost Ballers, almost kind of a better situation, because I think personally, I don't think from the outside looking in, and a lot of people that don't know you before, didn't see your game, like you really got to see you open up your bag, like have more opportunities, because you're not playing alongside Joe anymore. So what was it like when, I guess, you get the call, or did they just tell you when you show up the next week? And
actually, I got a call from Lisa telling me, like, telling me what was going on. And then like the next day I got a call, like one of the coolest voicemails from Iceman.
Oh shoot.
I couldn't even I actually send it to send a message to like my uncle and my cousin who were like fans over him. I'm just like, I just got one of the coolest voicemails I could ever get from George Gervin. And he's like just so smooth, like with the whole message. And it's just like that's a different experience. So it was cool. But he was telling me like he was excited. And also at that time, I think Bibby was guarding the fives. They didn't have a big man.
Yeah, they didn't. They were playing super small.
Yeah. Cause like I think like Boozer got traded or he was out or whatever. And like Bibby was out there banging like Will McDonald. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is definitely another opportunity to where I can help and just show what I can do.
Yeah, for sure. And that was an interesting, I think both the teams both the Ghost Baller teams have been pretty similar, but interesting because, you get to join not only Bibby, but you get to join Ricky and Mike, and really, a good squad. I just think like maybe if you would have joined early on in the season, you guys have really could have made a good run. But, what were some of the things that, I know you said Iceman was super excited to have you, but did he kind of tell you about what your role would be, or how it would maybe change a little bit? And what was it kind of like that first year, just kind of getting acquainted with the Ghost Baller guys and playing along Bibby for what ended up being his last Big Three season as a player, at least?
Yeah, it was more like, hey, big fella, like you go out there and do your thing. Like you're gonna have more freedom over here. Like, with like Mike and his energy. Like you also have to figure out like what they like to do. Within the game, and I mean everything's a process. Everything's a process of learning. And it's just a different role. Like I might take more shots, more freedom to handle the ball or make plays, things like that. But yeah, they just told me like just go play my game, and just had like the ultimate freedom to just hoop.
Yeah, that's super dope. And like, how did you feel like you had like instant? I shouldn't say instant because that's pretty unrealistic. But did you feel like you had some pretty quick chemistry? I mean, with the guys on the court, or maybe even off the court, just like kind of getting to know those guys a little bit better.
Yeah, and it all started with like Mike being excited to throw me alleys and things like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like when the guards get like that big that they can jump a little bit, it's like, oh yeah, this is about to be fun. And it just started from there. And Ricky's cool. You just got Iceman telling stories about when he played, and you know what I mean? Like it was just fun, man. Like the Big Three is just fun. You can just chill and relax and just do what you love to do.
Yeah, man, that's cool. So the following season, you're kind of in flux a little bit because,
Mhm.
as most of us know in the Big Three community, you win it all, you run the team back. You're second place, you can choose to run the team back or you can switch things up. But everybody else goes back into the draft pool if you're not a captain or
Mhm.
co-captain. Um, Turns out that you get the call to be a co-captain alongside Mike, and then Ricky's promoted to captain and everything. Got to be cool to know that not only your peers but also your teammates that you've gotten to know, not even just consider you, but really wanted you to be the co-captain and wanted to put you in that role and make sure you were back.
Yeah.
How did that conversation go about? Was Mike the first one to tell you, or Ricky? And I'm sure you were amped about it.
Because when COVID hit, like we didn't really know. It was all pretty
That's
much up in
true.
the air. So when I got the call or the text message from Iceman, he was like, "We want you to be co-captain. How you feel about that?" It's like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn it down. Yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah, I'm gonna do it. And like I was just telling him to keep me updated on what he's hearing because at that time I was in Japan. Um, and it was kind of like up in the air, and Cube and everybody was having like these calls and just trying to figure out how to make things safe for the players, but also if they wanted to do it or not and things like that. And
Hmm.
it kind of like fell through, um, and then like we got that message like Cube was like, fans or no fans, we're doing this. And I was like, I just had to make sure I was still in the co-captain talk and things like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it didn't really change from there. But like it was everything, just uncertainty.
For
Like you just
sure.
don't really know, and everything's just up in the air. But yeah, it was pretty much like simple text or call from
Okay.
Iceman.
Yeah, I forgot you got the call pretty early. I mean, you essentially were
Mhm.
sitting on that co-captain spot for a year.
Exactly.
Man, so you're just like, I'll be in one of these days. Like, they'll
Exactly.
officially announce that I'm a co-captain. That's cool. And you got to run it back with the guys and like really like test this, what was like once an experience or experiment, I should say,
Mhm.
and see if that, it was more than that, if it was like a really successful. And this past season, I feel like it was like
Mhm.
you guys did things a little bit differently than I think a lot of other teams did, in the sense of like, you're like, okay, we're going to run the same team back. We're going to draft guys that have played in the Big Three before. And I think we saw a lot of early success from that
Mhm.
throughout the first 5 games. And something we talk about in the show a lot is that like Big Three experience, I feel like matters a lot more than a lot of people realize. But,
Mhm.
overall, how do you feel about the season? I mean, I know that once Mike went down, some things changed. You had some bodies in and out of the lineup and everything. But how do you feel after your second year in the league?
Um, Man, we
I
started
mean,
off hot. We started off
you
hot.
guys were going crazy.
Yeah. And it was just fun. But I mean, it's just like everything, like I said earlier, it's like everything's a process. So like once Mike kind of went down, I think everybody kind of got in our ear, like, you know what I mean? It was like, well, Mike's not there, so it was pretty much done. You know what I mean? It was kind of
Yeah,
like
which
that. But I mean, sometimes it has to be like next man up to kind of keep the ball rolling, if you will. Like, I just think, uh, like it, like Mike, like his energy is just unmatched, bro. Like it was kind of hard to, you know what I mean?
like even off the court too, like
Yeah.
he's
So it's
pretty
like,
just crazy dude.
yeah. So like me as a parent, so like if like my daughter is like the loudest one of the twins,
Hmm.
and like if I feel like, you know what I'm saying, like if she's not there, this is something different there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like
That's a good way to explain it.
yeah, it was just different.
Do you feel like not having that extra man on the roster
mm,
was like hurt a little bit? Because I know it went
um,
from 6 to 5, and I know only three
mm,
guys play on the court, but you feel like
yeah.
that played a role in anything?
I'm not sure. Like
Hard to say.
yeah, it's kind of hard to say because like Mike brought so much. It was like defensive side of like two-way side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And also stuff just happens. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just happens. It's part of sports.
Yeah. That last game you went crazy though against Three-Headed
Yeah.
Monsters. Like, I think you had to win by like 18 in that game or
Yeah.
something, and you were
Yeah.
like, you're like, all right, let's just
Yeah.
go for like the record or something. We're gonna make this
So
happen.
we heard so many other things. Like somebody had to win, and we had to win by 20 or more. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna go out here and just leave it all out there and just
Yeah.
live with it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we just overthink things, and it's just simple as just going out there and playing like it's the last time you're gonna play.
Yeah. So
You
what's
know what I mean?
crazy is my co-host and I, we were talking like because we were watching the highlights you were posting on your story when you were in New Zealand and just
Yeah.
overseas in general, because I know you had like 3 different stops or something like that this before the season
2.
started.
Yeah, it was 2. Yeah.
Okay, 2. And we were like, man, we didn't realize that Chris had the bag like that. Like,
Yeah.
no offense or anything. Like,
Yeah.
again, like this is just us trying to learn players that we don't get to hear about enough, which is why I think the league is so great. But didn't realize you had the bag like that. You were going crazy in New Zealand. Was it hard for you to like leave like middle of the season, like when you're like in MVP talks and stuff, and come to the league? Because I'm sure while you're excited to, you know, be the co-captain of Ghost Ballers and get this new league, this new year started, like you're over there doing your thing, like really showcasing just what kind of player you are and what you can really bring to the table.
Yeah. So like New Zealand was really the best experience I had internationally over my 11 years of playing.
Wow.
Like, and that's where my wife's from.
Oh, cool.
And it was like within the city where she was born. So like it was.
Oh, that's great.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was a comfort. Like it just made sense. But like for like Aaron, so the coach is Aaron. Shout out to Aaron. Because he saw something within me when I was practicing with the Breakers, and he was just like, "Hey, I know it's not what you're thinking, but we want you to come play for us. Like, if it makes sense, then we just go from there." And like, he just put the ball in my hand to, just to be successful, but he also knows like what kind of guy I am, and we had a super young team.
Mm-hmm.
We had like a 16, 17, 18-year-old on our squad. You know what I'm saying? And
that's wild. And
everybody looks at it like, how do you do that? Like, how are you doing that and not going crazy? I'm like, dude, you just have to remember like how you were at that age and understand like it's growth within this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also like trying to get within your bag, but also making sure like you're helping these guys as well. And I think that's where Aaron understood like what I brought to the table, that I was a good guy and I was going to help any way I could to help those guys and also win games. So like that whole thing was like a process of, we had one import who was there for like 3 games. He ended up leaving to go to Australia. Great player. Like he had like a business or whatever, and he had to leave. Jeremy, JK, they call him.
And you can't remember his name once you got that nickname.
No, like but like JK he's a real deal, bro. Like a guard from Indiana, like he was just getting loose, bro. Like he was winning games, like game winning shot blocks and all this other thing. Like it was crazy. And like once again, it was like, well, JK left, y'all pretty much done. They didn't expect anything from us. And then it kind of like get to the point to where, are you going to accept that, or are you going to get up and do something about it?
Right.
And that's what it was. Like, and it was just a process of grinding and understanding like it's more guys that were coming in and we adding pieces to this thing.
Mm-hmm. And
then the ball started rolling and we started stringing some wins together and ended up making the Final Four. And like, I think I played like the last game of the regular season, and then the BIG3 was going to happen like within 2 weeks, and I was fighting it. Like I wanted to stay so bad because like it was the process of it, and me loving New Zealand. Like it's just a great place to be. It was a great place for my wife and my kids, and them be able to see family like through the whole COVID thing, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, the whole thing. And I was just fighting it, like, you know, and but to also understand, like, I made a commitment to the Big Three to, you know what I mean, like I didn't want to
That's
let
tough.
anybody down. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's tough for sure.
yeah,
But that's cool, man. I mean, like
yeah,
to see that process, like
yeah,
that's how it goes. So I'm sure that's how you were looking at it when Mike went
yeah,
down. You're like, things can still work in our favor. We just got to
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah.
And that's why I feel like too, what I really wish they did in the league. So like the first year they had like reserves that they had on hand. So kind of like
Mhm.
Triplets had Teddy as a
Yeah,
reserve anytime anybody went down. Like everybody had their own reserve. So maybe that's something they look into in the future too. That way it's not like who's going to play this week, you know, like new
yeah,
bodies. And I know it's like an adjustment period, COVID's going on or whatever. So
yeah,
no faults, but I do think that could be beneficial and might have been
mhm,
beneficial when you guys were what, like 4-2 and
mhm,
you know, figuring out that you weren't going to play with Mike, who's going to be the next guy, and you're practicing with them, getting dinner with them, whatever the case may be.
yeah.
Just one man's opinion here. Despite all that, I was there week 2 of Vegas and got a little bit of the Ghost Ballers experience, being around Mike and Jordan and everything. But I think Jordan got more of the experience that he was telling me, like, you know, just the culture and the energy and the good times you guys bring, you know, whenever you guys see each other every weekend. So it seemed like a pretty fun team from the outside looking in. Like
Yeah, for
you seem
sure.
like one of the most fun teams, and you just go out there and leave it on the floor, but you have a good time doing it. And you
Yeah,
saw that very early on the season when I felt like maybe Ghost Ballers was a little bit doubted
mhm.
what you guys were going to do, and proved a lot of skeptics wrong. All that being said, any fun memories from this past summer that like really stand out?
Um, yeah, a couple of them, like, but like the one that's fun to me and means the most to me is my kids being there. Like,
Hmm.
it's different
Yeah,
for them. Like, they may not ever remember this, but like for memories, like for them to, even in New Zealand, like just having them at the game, and win, lose, or draw, like you just know.
yeah, that's a good
You
feeling,
know what I'm
I'm
saying?
sure.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. I
it's
mean,
a
I don't have
different
kids, but
feeling.
I can
Like,
only imagine.
yeah, like that. It's giving me chills right now. Like, to uh just know that daddy's coming to play with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, after, and
Hmm.
just having them there for like support, man. Like, this, that's just cool. And you know, it's not just us, but like sometimes we share locker rooms with other teams, and like I
For
hear
sure.
stories from Gilbert Arenas. Like, man, he has, like, I love listening to the stories, like, to just laugh. Like, it's just fun. Like, to just, everybody has a story. Everybody's unique in a way, and you know, like, just sometimes picking people's brain at the same
Yeah.
time. But like, it's, man, just talking to different people, and you know, just getting to know who they really are. Like, that's the fun part of
Yeah. Speaking of Gilbert, I was going to say that game where you guys
it.
played enemies that I was
Yeah,
at week 2, probably one of the most fun games. I mean,
yeah,
from the Ghost Ballers perspective that I saw, because I know it's kind of like the Craig Smith revenge game, and you guys were all kind of you know, backing him up like we're going to get this
yeah,
dub for you, and
sure.
that
He
was
would
pretty
post it.
fun to me.
He would make posts too, like Ghost Dad and all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was going
yeah,
crazy that week, and then he
yeah,
gets the, you know, like I feel like the momentum swing, bring the fire, like
yeah. That changed the whole
insane.
thing.
Yeah. Well, what was that like? I mean, like just like going into the game and then like coming out of the game with the W. Like, I mean, just what was the energy like for that
Yeah,
week?
yeah, that was crazy, because it was kind of like everybody's excited because me and Isaiah are like pretty similar with like being able to handle the ball
Yeah.
and make plays and being
Hmm.
athletic and things like that. So it's kind of like go at him, he goes at me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like a great competitive energy that between both teams. And like you said, like the the fireball, like that changed the entire game. That changed the entire game, because like it started with who was guarding him?
Uh, Elijah Stewart.
Elijah Stewart.
Hmm.
So like, I don't think Gilbert wanted to do the fireball, And I guess he asked Stewart if he's going to get to stop if I did it. He's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get to stop. Like just thinking like Craig's a slouch or something, like, you know what I mean? Like
right.
Craig can go. Like I was with him in Portland. Like Craig can go. And he hit him with like that little jab.
Man,
it was kind of over after that. Like it just flattened him. So like that whole energy like just changed everything. And I think that's how we also strung like two more together. Like just going off that. And like yeah, that the energy of that game was pretty cool.
Yeah, I felt like too, like it wasn't like it just meant a lot to Craig because you know, like it meant a lot to all you guys because like after that happens, like Mike and Ricky running over there, like just they're just like hyped up for him. But man, fun squad, fun memories. And kind of want to talk about your teammates a little bit. So I strung this together last minute because I felt like you probably had a few change of teammates throughout the year just for different reasons or injuries or whatever. Altogether, probably had like 6 other teammates, probably like 7 of you guys that played for Ghost Ballers this year. So I thought this would be like just kind of a fun little activity, but it's going to be like the most likely to blank. So, and just based off your teammates. So just want to start it here. So like most likely, since you guys played in Vegas a lot, most likely to win big in Vegas, like from a gambling perspective, just like hit the jackpot on the slots.
Probably Iceman. Just because he's so calm, you know what I mean? Yeah. I would say Iceman.
Iceman, okay.
Yeah.
He just things come to him naturally. That makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Okay. Most likely to go up in like in normal times, like a bar, crazy night, and just do some karaoke.
Probably Mike.
Not like that was a shoe-in, but I you know, I don't know if someone's got like a crazy, like, you know, crazy energy in their back pocket or crazy hits, and
then he's gonna throw in a ghost in there. And then after he's done, for sure.
I love that. All right. Last one. Most likely to play in Squid Games for the money. Like craziest one to do that. You can name yourself too, but
no, I don't think I'm crazy enough.
Okay.
Nah.
Give you the window of opportunity there.
Yeah, I might have to. Maybe Rhino.
A little bit of a sleeper answer.
Maybe
there.
Rhino. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say Mike again or Ricky. I feel like Ricky might, but Rhino.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Rhino on that one.
Okay. He'd win it too. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. He'd win it too. That part where they're like, spoiler alert here for anyone listening that hasn't seen it, but like that part where they're like fighting each other off and like it's dark and have you seen it? I don't know if I.
Yeah.
Okay. So the part where they're like fighting and it's like dark and they're like using bunk beds for
the flashing lights.
Yeah. Like I would be avoiding Rhino for sure. Man, that'd be cool. Okay, cool. Get to know your teammates a little bit better. So I want to talk a little bit about the awards because what I think is cool in the BIG3 is that you guys as players get to make the call on who wins what awards. I'll be honest, I felt like there was 2 Defensive Player of the Year candidates on your team with you and Mike. Felt like you guys were a little bit snubbed. That's just my personal opinion. Did you feel that on your end?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Okay. Understood. Because, you know, don't want to be like the numbers guy or whatever, but if you do look at it from a numbers standpoint, I mean, you played all 8 games. The guy who won it, Larry Sanders, who had a good season as well, didn't play every game. And so kind of understand why, like, if Larry weren't to win it, like I would understand why like Mike didn't either because he didn't play every game. But it's weird to see like the numbers like you averaged just over or just close to like 1.5 blocks per game, played all 8 games. Mike averaged over a steal and a block in the 5 games he played. And then just looking at, you know, Larry's numbers, who again, you know, played well when he was out there, and I think made a real impact on Tri-State, making it to the Bahamas. But he averaged less than 1 per game. So I was just wondering on your end if you felt like, just as a team, like, you guys as a team maybe got snubbed a little bit.
Yeah, for that. Only for like the games played.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I was there the entire season. But like it's no ill will or anything. It's just like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I felt I was snubbed, because I felt like previous years it was the numbers. Because Amari was leading in blocks. And he got defensive player of the year. So that's how the kind of cards were played before. So like that's what I thought. But you also understand that Larry brings like a presence as well. And maybe that's why everybody else picked him. Like, I don't know. But like you just congratulate that man and just go about your day. Like,
sure. I feel like sometimes too, like when a team's doing really well at the end of the season, get a lot of hype around it, and then it's like, oh, Tri-State beat Triplets or the #1 seed, like I thought.
And maybe if we made the playoffs, it'd probably be a different story.
For sure. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think you already kind of answered my question, but like, do you consider availability or games played as like a strong piece of criteria, when you're making your own votes for, like, is that a strong point, not just in defensive player of the year, but every category?
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's limited games throughout the season already. Yeah. It's a short season, so I agree. Just wanted to get your thoughts around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Before we wrap it up, any plans during the rest of the Big 3 offseason? I know you're saying you're playing kind of the waiting game, but any big plans? And are you kind of like, as a co-captain, are you kind of like scouting throughout the fall and the spring, just seeing like, hey, who could be interesting to potentially add to the team next summer?
Man, I was scouting a whole bunch of guys last year for like just put them in the pool. I know Kevin Murphy hit me up and like wondering how he could get to the combine. Like Murph's he was my teammate twice in the Middle East.
Oh, dope.
No, he's my teammate in Croatia and in the Middle East. And I already know what he brings to the table. I already knew what kind of season he's gonna have. Like, he can put the ball in the hole however you want it. He can put the ball in the basket. And he had the ultimate green light to do so. And
for sure,
he took off. So like, I'm happy for Murph on that one. It's a lot more guys like Eli Holman, my brother Joe Posey, he was at the combine, shot lights out. There's a whole lot more guys I feel they can play. I feel Gladness brought like a presence. Mikael Gladness, who also
he was nice.
Was my teammate in the G League and happened to be like one of my really like best friends. And like seeing him get an opportunity, man, he blocks everything. You
and him, that's scary.
So
cool.
So like, I'm still scouting, like, to see like what like what's out there and what can help and what brings mismatches, and like that's honestly what it is. It's another guy, Sammy Monroe. He is a problem. He's like 6'7", maybe like 230, but he can play from like the 1 to the 4.
230.
Man, he's a big boy.
Big dude, yeah. Big dude.
Like he can handle it. He can make plays. He can do whatever. There's a lot of guys I feel like, can really help this league as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time. Letting me hear a little bit more about your Big 3 experience and your season as a Ghost Baller. I know it didn't end necessarily the way you guys hoped for, but coming back with a vengeance, I'm sure.
For sure.
Put up another big season. Hope the offseason goes well for you, and appreciate the time once again.
Appreciate it. No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. That was our interview with Chris Johnson. We really appreciate his time coming on. Like I said in the intro, I've been trying to get that man on for a very long time, but he's traveled to the Middle East. He's been in New Zealand, played a whole summer in the Big 3. He's got 2 kids. So just a lot going on for him, and couldn't be happier that we could get him on following his second year in the BIG3, a really big one for him in a year where I thought he played well on both sides of the ball. Appreciate his time and glad we could have him on. Appreciate everyone also who tuned in, whether you're tuning in on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, whatever kind of podcast platform you like to listen to podcasts on. If you like visuals better and you're watching on YouTube, or you're just a big Dash Radio advocate and Nothing But Net channel more specifically, really appreciate you guys tuning in wherever you can find the show app. We'll have hopefully more interviews throughout the off season and then kind of ramp things up. I've been saying in the past, early in the 2022 year when the off seasons really get going. But thanks to everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you guys next time.